All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. And, today we are going to kind of shift gears a little bit, go in a little different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is all thanks to you guys out there listening and sending in stuff that you find interesting.
Yeah.
Because somebody sent us some excerpts from this book, Zodiac Signs, Learn English with Astrology. And I got to say, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's got this playful, kind of like whimsical feel to it.
It does. It really does.
Uh-huh.
And so we're going to do a deep dive into this today.
Okay.
And see what we can find out
All right.
about learning English vocabulary from this perspective of astrology.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is that right off the bat in the beginning, it says that each zodiac sign has a favorite English word
Mm-hmm.
that captures its essence.
Yeah, it's a really neat concept, this whole idea of connecting your personality or like these archetypes with specific words and using that as a way to kind of expand your vocabulary.
Yeah, I like that.
We're going to see if we can learn 12 new words today.
Let's do it. Okay, so are you ready to kind of see what the stars have to say about our vocabulary?
Absolutely. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so they start off by asking, what's your zodiac word?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because, it kind of makes you think like, do I even have a zodiac word?
Right. And it plays on that curiosity, like what could it possibly be?
Exactly. And then they go on to give an example, and they talk about Leo.
Okay.
And they say that their favorite word is glorious.
Which makes total sense. When you think about Leo, they do have that bold, kind of radiant energy that really aligns with the word glorious.
They do. And so it really does make you think like, okay, well, what is going to be my sign's favorite word, and are they going to be right?
Yeah, you're kind of anticipating it as you go through this. And I think that anticipation is actually a really good thing when it comes to learning because it makes you more engaged.
Yeah, you're actively thinking about it, trying to make those connections. And when you're actively involved in the learning process like that, it tends to stick with you better.
Absolutely. So let's dive into some of these favorite words and see how they connect with each sign.
Okay, so first up we have Aries.
Mm.
And they are the kind of like the go-getters, the initiators of the zodiac. And their word is courageous.
Courageous. Yeah, very fitting for a sign that's known for being, fearless and taking charge.
It is.
And the source even goes a step further. It provides the pronunciation, which is always helpful when you're learning new words.
Right.
So it's courageous. And then they encourage you to say, I am courageous. And, even adding that little fire emoji at the end to really emphasize that bold Aries energy.
I love it.
It's fun.
Okay, so moving right along, we've got Taurus.
Okay.
And Taurus is known for being those kind of like steady, reliable people.
Grounded.
Yes, and their word
I
is
bet I can guess this one.
reliable.
Reliable. There you go.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly with that dependable nature that Taurus is known for. And again, they give the pronunciation re-L-Y-E-ubu, and then they suggest the phrase, you're so reliable, followed by a little leaf emoji.
Which kind of brings in that earthy element that's also associated with Taurus.
Yeah, it does.
So it's all tying together.
Now, next we have Pisces.
Okay.
And Pisces are the dreamers.
Mm-hmm. The intuitive.
Yes, and their word is...
Let's see, imagination.
Imagination.
Imagination, of course, makes sense for the sign that's all about creativity and that kind of inner world.
Right.
And they even encourage you to close your eyes and say, my imagination is limitless, with a little wave emoji to symbolize those Piscean waters.
I love that.
So it's not just about learning the word, it's about connecting with it on a deeper level.
It is.
Feeling it almost.
Right. And next we have Gemini.
All right, the twins.
And they are known for being really communicative.
Mm-hmm. Chatty even.
Yeah, and always curious.
So I'm guessing their word is communication or maybe
Conversation.
conversation. There you go.
Yeah.
Which is perfect because Geminis are all about connecting with others, exchanging ideas.
Yeah. And the example they give is, let's have a fun conversation with a little speech bubble emoji. It couldn't be more fitting.
Right. So as you can see, these words are very carefully chosen to represent the core characteristics of each sign.
Yeah. It's not just random. It's really well thought out.
It is. And now we come to Scorpio.
Okay.
And even the source acknowledges their mysterious nature.
Right. A little bit of a smirk there.
And so their word is...
Ooh, mysterious.
Mysterious had to be.
Yeah.
A word that just oozes intrigue, just like Scorpio themselves.
It does. And they suggest you whisper, life is mysterious.
Ooh.
With a little winking emoji.
Adding to that air of secrecy.
It is.
And it's interesting because even the way you say a word
Yeah.
can change its impact.
Yeah.
Whispering, mysterious, definitely adds to that whole vibe.
It does.
It's a good point. And last but not least, in this first half, we have Virgo.
Okay.
And Virgo is known for being very detail-oriented.
Mm-hmm. Precise.
Yes.
Perfectionists, even.
Yes, and their word is detail.
Makes perfect sense. They're all about the specifics, making sure everything is just right. So detail is a very fitting choice.
It is. And they even have you say, I love every detail, with a little sparkling emoji.
You're right, because Virgos find beauty in those little things, the things that others might overlook.
They do, and it's really interesting how, these little emojis that they're using really add to this whole lighthearted tone of the learning experience.
Yeah, it definitely makes it feel less like a textbook and more like a fun little game.
Right.
Which is always a good thing when you're trying to learn something new.
It is. So just to quickly recap the other 6 signs for Cancer, the word is nurturing. For Libra, it's balance.
Makes sense.
For Sagittarius, it's adventurous.
Love it.
For Capricorn, it's ambitious. For Aquarius, it's independent.
Of course.
And then for Leo, as we already said, it's glorious.
So we've got a really nice variety of words here covering a whole spectrum of personality traits.
We do. And I think it's important to point out that it's not just about these individual words,
Right.
but the way the source presents them.
Absolutely. They're using really effective vocabulary acquisition techniques here.
Yeah.
Like repetition, having you say the words out loud and putting them into context with those example sentences that helps with retention.
Right. It's not just like, here's a word, memorize it.
Exactly. It's about actively engaging with the words and making them your own.
Right. So after they've kind of laid out all these zodiac words, they then introduce this thing called the Zodiac Story Challenge.
Ooh, I like a challenge.
And I think this is brilliant because it kind of takes everything we've just learned and turns it into this fun little mystery.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So they give you the beginning of a short story, and they tell you that all 12 of these zodiac words are hidden within it.
So it's like a word puzzle.
It is. And your job is to try and find them all.
I love that it's a great way to test your knowledge and it keeps you engaged with the material.
Exactly. And the way they start the story is so captivating.
Okay, let's hear it.
It says, one courageous night under a mysterious moon, a reliable friend shared a conversation full of imagination. Suddenly they noticed a detail. And then ...
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
I know, right?
So they've already used 6 of the words.
They have. And now you're like dying to know what happens next. And at the same time, you're scanning the story in your mind, trying to remember those other 6 words.
Right. Like, where are they going to fit in? How's the story going to unfold?
Exactly. And to make it even more fun, the source adds this little like reward alert.
Okay.
They say if you can identify all 12 words, comment with your zodiac sign and the phrase, I'm stellar at English, and you might get a shout out.
I love that it adds a little bit of friendly competition and it encourages people to interact with the content.
It does. And you know who doesn't love a shout out?
Right, exactly.
And to keep that momentum going, they then introduce this activity called the Zodiac Word Swap.
Okay, a word swap. What is that all about?
So it's pretty simple. They take a word that's commonly associated with a particular sign. Like, for example, Cancer is often described as kind.
Right.
And Sagittarius is often associated with fun.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, instead of using those words, let's swap them out for the zodiac word we highlighted.
Okay.
So for Cancer, instead of kind, you would use nurturing.
Ooh, I like that.
And for Sagittarius, instead of fun, you would use adventurous.
Yeah, that's a great swap. It adds a little more depth and nuance to the description.
It does. And then they encourage you to share your swapped word in the comments along with your zodiac sign.
So again, it's about getting people involved, making it personal, and you know what I really appreciate about this activity is that it encourages you to think about the subtle differences between words.
Right.
Right, like kind and nurturing, they're both positive qualities. But nurturing has this more specific connotation.
Exactly. It implies care and support.
Right. So it's really helping you to expand your vocabulary and understand the nuances of language. Absolutely. And that's so important when you're learning a new language.
It is.
It's not just about knowing the words. It's about knowing how to use them effectively.
Right. So as we come to the end of our cosmic journey through this zodiac-themed vocabulary, the source has a little bit of cosmic homework for us.
Oh, homework. I hope it's not too hard.
It's not. It's super easy. All you have to do is say your zodiac word 3 times today.
That's it.
That's it.
I can handle that.
Right. It's a simple but effective way to kind of like reinforce what you've learned.
Yeah, repetition is key.
It is.
It helps those words stick in your mind.
And of course, the source itself has its own call to action.
Okay.
They encourage you to leave your word in the comments, give their content a like, subscribe for more, and even tag a friend who really embodies one of these zodiac traits.
I love that idea. Tag your friend who's as mysterious as a Scorpio or as independent as an Aquarius.
Exactly. It's just a fun way to kind of like share this with others.
Yeah, and it keeps that conversation going.
It does. So I think what's really cool about this whole approach to vocabulary building is that it makes it fun.
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like work.
Right. It's not intimidating. It's engaging. And it connects with something that a lot of people are already familiar with and interested in, which is astrology.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love reading their horoscope?
Exactly. So it's a really clever way to make learning feel more like a game than a chore.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the language of the zodiac, here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
Think about the different words that are associated with your own zodiac sign, maybe even beyond the one that was highlighted here,
Okay.
and ask yourself, how do those words shape how you see yourself
Interesting.
and how you interact with the world?
I like that it's making me think about the power of language and how it can influence our self-perception and even our relationships.
Right, because words have power. And even when we're looking at them through this playful lens of astrology, it's fascinating to think about how they might be subtly shaping who we are.
It is food for thought.
It is so. Until our next deep dives, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the power of words.
I'll see you then.
All right, bye.